Hello and welcome to the Rational Rise podcast for April 29th, 2018. I'm here joined by Mary.
Hey.
So Joy Reid, Joy Reid, MSNBC host. I already covered this week how she had a bunch of old homophobic blog posts from the mid to late 2000s that were just recently exposed. And her story, when those released, was that she was hacked. I was hacked. I didn't write these. I was definitely hacked. The Wayback Machine was hacked. And then when the Wayback Machine said, no, we can't possibly be hacked, we know, we checked, then they changed her story, or she changed her story, and said that, no, I didn't say the Wayback Machine was hacked. I said my blog was hacked. So that would mean that hackers would either have had to hack her blog at the time without her noticing and post blogs without her noticing, or in current day, go back in time, post blogs, only for them to today be recognized by the Wayback Machine. Both stories are implausible. So what actually happened is that she wrote this homophobia and she tried to deny it was her. And after all the reports showing how even her own website that she writes for, the Daily Beast, came out with a report saying there's no possible way that a hacker wrote these, that it was likely Joy Reid and she probably just forgot. She came out and gave an apology. So she still has her job at MSNBC, so her weekend show. This is how she started her show on Saturday.
Good morning and welcome to AM Joy. A community that I support and that I deeply care about is hurting because of some despicable and truly offensive posts being attributed to me. Now, many of you have seen these blog posts circulating online and in social media. Many of them are homophobic, discriminatory, and outright weird and hateful. When a friend found them in December and sent them to me, I was stunned. Frankly, I couldn't imagine where they'd come from or whose voice that was. In the months since, I've spent a lot of time trying to make sense of these posts. I hired cybersecurity experts to see if somebody had manipulated my words or my former blog. And the reality is they have not been able to prove it. But here's what I know. I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things because they are completely alien to me. But I can definitely understand, based on things I have tweeted and have written in the past, why some people don't believe me. I've not been exempt from being dumb or cruel or hurtful to the very people I want to advocate for. I own that. I get it. And for that, I am truly, truly sorry. I had a conversation the other day with a friend who's also an advocate in the LGBTQ community in Florida, who rightly took me to task for my tweets mocking Ann Coulter using transgender stereotypes. I apologize to my friend, and I want to apologize to the trans community and to Ann. Those tweets were wrong and horrible. I look back today at some of the ways I've talked casually about people and gender identity and sexual orientation, and I wonder who that even was. But the reality is that, like a lot of people in this country, that person was me. I grew up in a household that, like many in America, had conservative views on LGBTQ issues. I had friends, some of my closest friends, in fact, growing up, who I later learned were gay and who had kept it secret from me and from everyone else we were close to because they didn't know what we would say or if we would still be friends or whether we would look at them differently. I can remember a friend of mine, my freshman year in college, telling me he was gay and my knee-jerk reaction being that it was so disappointing to the women he could have married. He was so hurt he didn't speak to me for months. I'm heartbroken that I didn't do better back then, knowing so many great people in the LGBTQ community, including amazing friends and journalists and producers and political operatives and great dads and moms and advocates and just regular people. And knowing how hard it must have been for so many of them to come out to their families, to their friends, to just walk around in the world, especially for trans people. And I feel like I should have known better than to ever write or tweet in a way that could make fun of or make light of that pain and that experience, even a decade ago when the country was in a very different place. But I cannot take any of that back. I can only say that the person I am now is not the person I was then. I like to think I've gotten better as a person over time, that I'm still growing, that I'm not the same person I was 10 or 5 or even 1 year ago. And I know that my goal is to try to be a better person and a better ally. Now, the reality is I have to own the things that I've written and tweeted and said. And I'm hoping out of all of this, there's an opportunity to talk about the ways in which hurtful speech really does imperil marginalized communities. These issues matter, not just theoretically, but because we're talking about our friends, our kids, our coworkers, people who deserve better than what I have sometimes given them.
All right, there we go. Look, that's a good apology if she wasn't a liar. So my issue here with Joy isn't that she once held these backwards views about the LGBT community, because a lot of people did. But my problem here is that she didn't own it to begin with. She didn't say, yeah, that was me, and I can't believe I was that person. I apologize for writing those things, and, you know, giving a heartfelt apology about the things she wrote at that time. But what she did here was she lied. She lied for a week about not even writing these at all, even though she here just discussed a story where she talked about how her friend came out to her and she felt disappointed. If she remembers feeling disappointed in that, then she would have remembered the years of homophobic blogs that she wrote. Now, she may not remember the specifics of those blogs, but she would be able to recognize her writing and realize that, yeah, I had those feelings back then, and it makes sense that I wrote about them. Now, before I go on to show more evidence that Joy Reid's lying, what are your initial thoughts, Mary, on Joy's apology and how she's treated this so far?
I think like just what all of this shows here and just the general backlash, and whether it's from, you know, like gay people or trans people or like the LGBTQ community, is they're so willing to accept an apology. Like, they know the way things used to be. Like, they are understanding. And like, if your apology is like sincere and honest and you own what you did, like really truly own what you did, then like your apology can be accepted. But I find just like the fact that she's like saying, I genuinely don't believe I did this, and it's clearly a lie.
It's disingenuous.
It really hurts. Like, I don't know, like if someone was like trying to apologize, but then they said like, I genuinely don't believe I did do that, then that's to me concerning. Like, I don't accept it as like an honest and true, sincere apology. And that's just like my take. And the fact that this community is willing to apologize, like the fact that like people like Glenn Greenwald, who's like a gay journalist, like has like commented openly stating like, hey, like it's not the fact that you made these statements, like if you apologized, it'd be fine. But the fact that you're lying about it is the real issue. And I think this should like set a good like standard for like us in the media, or like us as like listeners, or us, you know, just anybody. Like if you do something wrong, it's okay to apologize. Like it's okay to like own up to like what you did. And if people are going to be like real dicks and like not accept your apology, or like just continuously smear you, like that's one thing. But like I think if you sincerely apologize and like really make true like, you know, actions to make things better, I don't know, that's just my take on it.
I think that makes sense. And but yeah, like, so for me the problem here is that just she fabricated a whole story about hacking.
Yeah,
that was never true, and she knows it was never true. She knows she was homophobic. She knows she wrote those things, and she still fabricated this whole story. Got her lawyer involved. Got the FBI involved. Also, she didn't have to own the fact that she wrote all this homophobia that was a lot worse than the initial. This is what's so amazing about this whole story. She apologized for the initial homophobic blog release that came out in December. So she accepted that she did that. But when these new ones came out, oh no, I didn't write those ones. But it's expressing the same views that you had in the other blog. Like, how is this any different? So she should have just apologized to begin with again at the new blogs, but she didn't want to own it. So another example of how Joy Reid is lying about forgetting about this. So in one of those old blog posts, she wrote about Rosie O'Donnell. And she clearly did not like Rosie O'Donnell. So it was during the Rosie O'Donnell-Donald Trump feud while Rosie was on The View. And Joy Reid came out clearly against Rosie O'Donnell and thought that Trump was great in those old blog posts. Now, Joy Reid called Rosie, and here's what Rosie tweeted out. Heard from Joy. Apparently, I was rude to her at an event in 1996 when she was an intern and I was receiving an award. I have no memory of the event. I apologized, so did she. All is well. So,
Like, actually?
Joy Reid remembers this event where Rosie O'Donnell was rude to her once, but she forgets the homophobic views that she held in the mid to late 2000s. Come on. We know she's lying. That's the problem here. Now, MSNBC and NBC, by extension, have shown that they don't care about liars. That if you're going to be a liar, you can totally be on a network and host a show. So just understand what you're watching. MSNBC now is on the same level as Fox News. Now, I will say, I mean, we hold Joy to a higher standard than I say we probably do with Sean Hannity. So I didn't do a video on Sean Hannity and him having Michael Cohen as his lawyer because I expect that out of Sean Hannity. I expect Sean Hannity and Fox News hosts to be just completely corrupt and full of shit. I don't expect anything from them. On MSNBC, even though I've criticized Joy quite a bit, I still expect some, the bar is higher. You expect something out of these people. You expect some sort of standard. And there's no standard here. So the way MSNBC has handled it, they've shown there's no standard. And now compare how MSNBC handled this story compared to how they handled Sam Cedar. So when an old tweet from Sam Cedar came out that looked bad, but in reality was simply him making a joke and actually poking fun at the establishment. So not to go through the whole tweet that Sam Cedar posted, but he was basically pointing out the fact that Hollywood seemed okay with a child molester. So rapist, yeah. But so he tweeted about that, and it was a joke that rubbed some people the wrong way. But it was clear once you saw the joke in context what it was about. MSNBC fired him immediately, and it took a large campaign to get Sam Cedar rehired back on the network. Now, compare that to how they've handled this. Here is Joy Reid, who was clearly lying from the beginning, made up an entire story, got the FBI involved, got her lawyers involved, lied the whole time, and she still has her show. So it shows you that they push back against progressives. If you're a progressive, look, I know a lot of you out there think, oh, Sam Cedar's not a progressive. He's as progressive as you can possibly get on MSNBC. He's a Bernie supporter. He's a progressive. So for them to throw people like that under the bus immediately, but protect Joy Reid, it shows you that because Joy Reid's been a loyal soldier, they're going to do everything they can to keep her on.
But remember, like, Brian Williams and his whole, like, he was, like, lying about his
war story.
His war story.
Yeah.
I think because
they suspended him, but then he came back.
But didn't he get fired? Like, he basically lost his position as, like, the 6 p.m., like, news anchor. Like, basically the top role that you could have for lying. But I think because Joy Reid has been such a, like player of the establishment, like, from the get-go, from the beginning. Like, she was, like, a full-on, like, Bernie bro, like, smearist. Like, that was what she did. I think she's been loyal. People are willing to, like, say, like, it's okay, Joy, like, we'll let this one slide. We'll let this slide because of all of your loyalty and everything that you've done for us.
Yeah. The Brian Williams thing was also just a bit different too because he was on NBC News. So
but now he's on MSNBC. Yeah. So maybe, like, it does go. Maybe it does go with their moral.
Yeah, there's just, like, standard that people expect. Oh, it's NBC News. They got to have the good. You can't have any smudges on your record. So that's why Brian Williams was treated that way compared to Joy Reid. I think that was the main reason. But yeah, so MSNBC clearly has a lower bar for what they allow as a host on the network, and they've shown that with Joy Reid. Hey, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button below and consider throwing me a few bucks on Patreon at patreon.com/therationalnational or therationalnational.com/join.